Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi commented on Friday on the recent conflict with China. She insisted there were no changes within her government's definition of an existential threat, which triggered tensions between Japan and China.
What becomes an existential threat depends on individual cases and its situation. The Japanese government will make a general judgment based on all the information. Since Japan enacted the legislation for peace and security under Prime Minister Abe, we have been repeatedly explaining this fact, and so have I. The government's position has been consistent.
The Japanese foreign minister says the government is willing to continue necessary interactions with China while observing the situation calmly. The conflict has spilled over in other areas. About a dozen concerts with Japanese musicians in major Chinese cities were abruptly canceled this week. And music venues across China were warned by authorities that concerts with Japanese musicians for the remainder of 2025 may be canceled. And the Chinese cruise operators are scrambling to avoid Japanese ports as Beijing and Tokyo engage in diplomatic dispute.
Tourism was also hit hard. In just 3 days, about 500,000 flight tickets from China to Japan were canceled. This happened after Beijing warned its citizens strongly not to travel to Japan. As tensions with China continue following Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's comments on Taiwan, what political and historical factors are at play? We sat down with retired Marine Colonel Grant Newsham, Senior Fellow at the Japan Forum for Strategic Studies and author of When China Attacks, for insight. Now, on that political front, digging into Takaichi's comments themselves, given Beijing's response so far, some are calling her comments on Taiwan off the cuff, some maybe that it was more anticipated. There was an idea that Beijing would retaliate, and some articles are saying that, this is helping to boost Takaichi's opinion among the public. How are you reading that?
I think she was trying to answer a question in the Diet, and she was trying to be too precise. And it was as hypothetical a question as you can possibly have. And I think she got into trouble on that regard. But she didn't say anything that anybody should have taken offense to. It was nothing nobody didn't know or hasn't heard before, even from other prime ministers. And distilled to the basics, she was saying, yes, Taiwan is really important to Japan. And it is possible that if China attacks Taiwan, that Japan will have to respond. And that's all she said. So this is not surprising, and it's not anything new. So the Chinese, of course, they don't act as a response to anything. Everything they do is pretextual. In other words, they're looking for an excuse to do something they already want to do, and they want to go after Prime Minister Takaichi and to destroy her. One of the sort of ironic aspects, not ironic and probably not coincidental, is that the Diet member who asked the question in the Diet that caused all this firestorm was a fellow named Okada Katsuya. His family owns a huge retail operation in Japan that also has very extensive business activities in China. In about 2012, when he was deputy prime minister, the Japanese Defense Forces were going to do a really tiny amphibious exercise down in Okinawa. The Chinese complained, and Okada got to the prime minister and apparently convinced him to cancel the exercise. It was like 2 days before it was going to go ahead. Okada got the exercise canceled. It is widely believed, and I've never heard anyone say it wasn't true, that he did that to protect his family business interests in China. So did he just come up with this question to ask in the Diet? I don't think so. The Japanese, unfortunately, in the political class, the business class, the official class, there's a lot of what you would call Chinese proxies. And the Chinese political warfare has been very effective. And that is part of what you're seeing going on here. But keep in mind at the same time that Takaichi's popularity has just skyrocketed after this incident happened. So something close to 70% of the public actually supports her. The more China does, the more the Japanese public sort of digs in their heels.